Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical updates. It's Thursday, the 25th of July, and it's going to be a long one today. Again, it was yesterday, and it will be again today because there's a lot of stuff going through. So let's just get cracking. We have Tesla that got hammered yesterday, massive gap lower, lost at 12%, and is now in this gap area here where we have support at 209.86. If it does close below that, well, then we could drop even further. Otherwise, it will bounce a little bit. But massive sell-off there. Also, Nvidia that hasn't announced any earnings, but it got sold off also yesterday by 6%. It has now taken out the 118 and 115.80 support below the 55 moving average. We are still in a positive sentiment on the RSI. There's no divergence. That actually normally indicates that we could see higher levels. But if we push lower, close a little bit lower, and we get 40 threshold close below here on the RSI, well, then there's potential down to 106, 101.2 area in this area here. Nvidia really needs to close back above 118 for uptrend to have at least a chance to resuming. But you can see bearish engulfing there, bearish engulfing here. So it does look like top and reversal pattern. Looking at the weekly chart, it also looks pretty bad with the sell-off here a couple of weeks ago and this massive bearish engulfing there. So really heavy on the Nvidia that could drag other indices lower, and it has dragged other indices lower already. We have the S&P 500 gapping yesterday before opening and closed below 5,447, just above the 55 moving average. RSI is still above 40 threshold though, but a lower close, and then we have a lower close here on the RSI, which will spell further trouble down to 5,300 level. I think if we get down there, and I'm not sure we will get down there, but if we do get down there, I think that will be it, and then we will have a bullish correction towards the resistance here at 5,447. So let's see here the next couple of days. That could be decisive. Nasdaq 100 also massive sell-off. And what is interesting, we have seen other corrections. Back in April we saw a correction. It was only 7.5%. That's more or less where we are now, but it's more fierce this time because we have a gap up here. We had a gap here, and that is really normally bad news for the markets. And here we went straight through several support levels, and next one 18,875, where we could see a bounce. But if it does close below, well, they'll be looking at 18,500. What we also seen, and let's just look at it a little bit. We should have done that to begin with. We had Hang Seng just above 17,000. That has dropped sharply, but especially Nikkei here. We have the Japanese CFD/future. It lost all the uptrend since mid-June and then some. So we are actually back here below that level, and there is no strong support until around 37,000, and we could test that before we get a bounce. In the Europe session this morning, we have EUROSTOXX 50 below 48.19, 48.12 support, testing 47.75, and closing this gap. If we do close below here, and at the moment seems like we are at least testing it, we could bounce. But if we get below there, well, then there's potential down to 4,700 and maybe a little bit lower. If it can close back above 4,800, well, then there could be a little bit of a relief rally coming into EUROSTOXX 50, but it doesn't look like it. We have DAX now below the cloud, selling off. Still positive sentiment, hasn't closed below 40, but it won't take much, and until that changes. There is it is eyeing 18,000, 17,875, where we have a bit of support, but the strongest one is 17,620. Let's see if we get down there. I don't think here at first take, but it is a little bit unusual that we have a July sell-off like this. Normally we see more turmoil in August and especially in September, so kind of interesting. We have the Amsterdam index currently below 892 support. If it does close below here in this region here, below 897, well, it's closing below the cloud. The cloud is at, as we can see, 896. Then we are in a bearish trend, lower low, lower high, lower low, negative sentiment on the RSI. It seems like we are pushing lower in the coming days and weeks, but do expect some correction. Or if it does close back above 900, well, maybe we could get a little bit of relief rally. CAC really bad this morning, gapping lower below the key support at 74.64. We talked about this quite since the election actually, and now there's room down to around 7,300, as you can see, coming back from this area here, and I think we will get there in a few weeks, maybe in a few days. Swiss market open below 12,151, could test 11,955. This is a key level around this level. If it takes out that and close below, well, then we're looking at 11,700. Moving on to FX market and euro dollar. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Euro dollar has actually been the most quiet FX pair. We will see a lot more moves in other pairs. We are dancing around the 38.2 retracement here at 108.46. Maybe we should make it a little bit more visible what's really going on here, and then change this to a darker color. Let's do that. Then you can see how it's been done. So 108.40 dancing around here. We have the 55, we have the 200 moving averages coming up, and the 21 giving some support. So I think we could see a little bit of a bounce in the next couple of days. However, there's still risk to around 108. But I think we will push higher. But let's see, there should be some macro numbers coming out of US later. We have Euro Sterling that is bouncing once again from the around the 84 level, and maybe we should just draw a little bit of a trend line. See right there, 83.95. So it's just dipping down below a few times. If it takes out 84.35, expect a correction up to 84.55, possibly up to 84.75. So that will be key. If it takes out 83.90, well, then expect lower levels on Euro Sterling. We have cable here, also dancing around the 38.2 retracement, like similar to Euro dollar at 128.80. There is risk down to the 61.8 retracement at 127.80. Not quite sure we'll get there, but if it starts really pushing lower here the next day or so, do expect a correction down to, and this is a fairly strong support, then I think that will be over. If it starts taking out 129.40, then I think we will see cable resuming up the trend. Yen pairs have really been on the move. Massive sell-off on dollar yen. 153.60 support. It was not the strongest one because it was just a dip down there. So these are not the strongest one. We have a little bit stronger than here. You can say, well, that's a dip down also. But if we just extend it a little bit, you can also see really interesting levels here around 151.85. That's much stronger support level. Also, we have the 200 moving average coming up. So I think we will see a little bit of correction, bullish correction here next couple of days. There is still, I would say, is still a risk down to the 150.80 support level again. But this area here where we are very close to, it's fairly strong. So I would expect a correction here. So look out for any uptick here in the next couple of days. I think we'll see a bounce towards 153.60, 154. RSI in oversold mode, and but there's no. We're still in negative sentiment, no divergence, so we could push lower after a minor correction. Euro yen also, and let's get rid of this one here. Very close to support at 164.64. You can see this support area here. You can also argue it is a bit of a range because we also have this. So in this range, 164 to 164.60, some strong support in this area. You also have the 200 moving average coming up, and if you extend that, you can see in this area there's a lot of interest. So I expect some bounce from if we dip below there. Also yen, also massive sell-off, actually the most fierce one. currently below the 200 moving average, below 99.90, which we talked about this level yesterday if it took out the lower rising trend line. So what we can see is also that there is further potential despite being in oversold mode. We can see RSI below 20, as you can see, below 20 at the moment, so massively oversold, but there's still risk down to 98, 70, 75 level, and that would be a massively, I think, exhaustion move. We are already almost there in an exhaustive move, so let's see. I think we will see a bounce here the next couple of days, but keep an eye on it. We could still dip a little bit lower. Sterling yen, also a massive sell-off that took it down below the support at 197.65, below the lower rising trend line. We could see a dip down to the 786 retracement at 194.96. And just below the cloud. I don't think it will close below the cloud, but let's see. If it does, then well, there could be more troubles ahead towards the 191, 35.40 level, the really strong support around here. But as you can also see, and this is why also was actually quite strong support, because we were in this region here where we had these peaks here, but it went straight through. So we are very close to exhausting the sell-off here. Whether it will be down here or we already there, it's not easy to see just yet. Then we have to dig deeper into intraday charts, and then it will take a little bit longer for this video. So, but we are in oversold mode, so I will be cautious having any short positions at the moment. We have Aussie dollar massive sell-off, and there's actually room further lower. It will depend. Will it close below the cloud or not? And the cloud is 66.42. That's going to be interesting. Also, in an oversold mode, we are in a 27. Could dip lower. There's no really strong support until around 64.70, but I think around 65 there could be some interest. So if it spikes below, then I think we will see a very strong bounce back. It's hard to guesstimate how much a bounce could be until we actually have a definite bottom here, and we don't have that at the moment. We need a floor, and we need a bottom and reversal pattern. Dollar Canada pushing higher towards 138.50, possibly 138.80. A very strong bullish move. Positive sentiment, no divergence. We are likely to see higher levels. We could still see a bit of a correction. Be aware that after more than a week consecutive bullish trading, still a little bit of risk that it will test the 137.85 from the other side and then push higher. But I feel confident it will push higher. Swiss franc also massive move, sell off in Euro Swiss, dip below the 786, retracement at 95.40. We are in a negative sentiment, so it could dip to this range around here, 95, 94, 75 range. You can also see we have actually the 55 crossing over the 100 moving average. We are below the 200, so the bearish picture is there that could push it lower. And if it takes out the lows from today, well, then I expect it to see it down here in this region. Dollar Swiss, also a bit of a move. The correction didn't last long, and now we're below 88.26, support area 88.20. If it does close below here, well, then expect a move down to around 87.30, 87 level, where we have some stronger support, but it would then have confirmed a bearish trend. It really needs to take out 89.25 to demolish that. Dollar index, since euro dollar didn't move much, then not much moving here. We got rejected here at the 104.25, 104.28 yesterday, and that seems to continue. I think we'll see it slowly pushing lower in coming days. Also massive move on the gold. Gold has reached the 61.8 retracement at 23.60. It's just spot on. We have 55 moving average giving some support there, so that's going to be interesting. We also have the cloud. And when it's horizontal like that, it's actually stronger when it's just these wobbly or these not flat or not horizontal lines. So this is actually a fairly strong support around current levels, around 23.66. Will it bounce from here, or will it go straight through? And if we're looking at 786 retracement at 23.34, could happen where we have the 1 hour moving average coming up, give some support. We are still in a positive sentiment. It needs to close below 40 on the RSI for that to change, but it weighs heavily on it at the moment. Silver, really key that it dropped below 28.60. You can see how strong it is from all these test and bounce, and now it actually moves straight through it to 27.775 support level. We are in a negative sentiment, indicating we are likely to push lower. And if it takes out that, and I don't think we just need a close, I think it will push towards 27, then could push down to 26, where we have much stronger support, where we have the 200 moving average coming up, and you can see here why we have such a strong support. So we are now in a bearish trend on silver. On platinum, currently testing. Let's just adjust a little bit. Currently testing the support here and these lows here back from June at 943, dip below, but it's not convincing. But if it does close below the 940 level, then I think we will push lower, and we are in a negative sentiment on the RSI, so maybe it can't really bounce here. So, but keep an eye on it and see what happens here the next 24 hours. Copper also lower. Let's get it updated. There we are. Below 413, just above 400. And it could be an exhaustive mode. I mean, if we get a bullish candle today, like this one, that could be interesting. That could be a bottom or reversal indicator, especially if we get a bullish candle again tomorrow. We are in a little bit, I wouldn't say oversold, but we are in a negative sentiment, and it is rare to see the RSI so low on copper. So let's see, give it a day or something, then I think we'll see a bounce, and then we can have an idea. So if we say, okay, that could be the bottom for now, at least, well, then there is potential up to around 430 in a bounce to begin with. So let's see, but there's still downside risk to below 400, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are some bears out there who will try to dip it below 400 to 396, maybe take out some stops. On the energy side, has been fairly muted overnight, but now it seems they are trying to push lower again, and we are negative sentiment on RSI. So I think on WGI we could dip lower to the 75 level. It depends where we end today. Let's see, but at the moment it seems like it, especially if it takes out the low here from the 23rd, then expect a move towards 75, maybe even lower, and Brent crude oil, more or less the same picture. If it takes out the 80 spots, 50, 80 and a half, well, then expect a move down to 79.30, and it seems like we are below the cloud at the moment, and we are in a negative sentiment, so the pressure is to the downside. Let's have a look at the US 10-year. Just moved up above the 427, and now we have a sell-off again, so to speak, and that could push it back down to 4%, but it's really indecisive at the moment. But this is a bearish engulfing, and I think we should have a look at the actual future and see what it does. Yeah, it moves back above here. I mean, the trend is up on the US Treasury future. This is the future. So the trend is up, meaning lower yields. So that's going to be interesting here the next couple of hours. We have the 2-year. And you can check my colleague Althea. She is our bonds and interest rate expert, and she's talking about the difference between the 2 and 10 and the moves at the moment. We don't have time to go into that now, but the 2-year actually took out support at 437, and currently is below, and I think it will push lower in the coming days and weeks. All right, that's all for today. Sorry for this long one. Have a nice day and happy trading.